Last year, 92 murders so far this year, and no sign it's going to get better. That's our story tonight.
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
The year is only 60 days old. During that time, there have now been 92 homicides here in the District of Columbia. The 92nd occurred this evening. Last year, 60 to 80% of the murders in the nation's capital were listed as drug-related. This is a city which has one of the toughest gun control laws in the nation, a city which has 4,000 of its own police and a total of 14,000 federal law enforcement officers, FBI agents, Capitol Police, Secret Service, Park Police, Drug Enforcement agents, Supreme Court Police, Library of Congress Police. Of course, the homicides here in D.C. don't happen at the Library of Congress or at the Supreme Court or at the U.S. Senate or the White House or at the embassies, which are guarded by the uniformed branch of the Secret Service. The murders, almost all of them, are committed in the black ghettos of Washington, which are like a combat zone, as alien to most white Washingtonians as Beirut or San Salvador. Here's John Martin.
I just pray constantly for all the children. I do. God has helped them because they're trying to destroy themselves.
Got approximately 33-year-old black male. He's been shot 3 times, that's shot 3 times.
It's like living in a war zone.
During the violence, a miracle took place in the Mayfair Mansions. Residents in the complex requested the members of the Nation of Islam to come in and help rid the complex of the drug dealers who had taken over it. And from these requests came the Dopebusters.
Right here today, and with Dopebusters from Washington D.C. I said, who we say we are? So all the dope push bad and he's just a song. I said, we're back by a powerful man. So let us unite and take this stand. I'm Johnny, I'm Mo, and I'm Brother Ali. Come on, everybody, sing along with me. Come join the Dopebusters. Come join the Dopebusters.
Joining us tonight to talk about this historic event, we have with us the following panelists. Starting off with Brother Captain Emeritus Tim Muhammad. Then we have Student Regional Minister Brother Abdul Sharif Muhammad. And we also have joining us Lieutenant Brother Lowell Hamza Duckett. And to finish off our guest, we have Brother Jackie Muhammad, who's a member of the NOI Research Group. Thank each of you, brothers, for joining us tonight, and we're going to get right down to this interview. And I would like to first begin by asking this first question to Lieutenant Duckett. You know, you're a veteran of the law enforcement, you're a veteran law enforcement officer who was on the force during this violent time in the history of Washington, D.C. From a law enforcement perspective, just how violent and crime-ridden was the Mayfair Mansions during this time?
The Mayfair Mansions was noted for being one of the most violent sections of the District of Columbia. When you look at all of the factors that led to that, you can see a total disregard for human life, for the sanctity of the family, for the well-being of children, women, and seniors. It was so far out of control that many within the community, especially in that particular ward, avoided that neighborhood.
Wow, thank you, my brother. And next, we're going to ask this question to Brother Tim. You were Brother Abdul Sharif, now our Student Regional Southern Minister. You were his first officer when he was the FOI captain of Mosque Number 4, right? And as the first officer, normally you help with the carrying out the instructions issued by the FOI captain, which meant you helped to facilitate and oversee many of the FOI community outreaches. What was it like for the FOI when they were going to the Mayfair Mansions prior to the formation of the Dopebusters and the NOI Security Agency? Because we just heard our brother Lieutenant Duckett talk about how violent it was.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum and Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Kareem.
Let me start this out with a little caveat because I have to say this because of our training. I mean, Mayfair Mansion was obviously one of the most notorious drug sites, in Washington, D.C. It was number one. But I want to start this out in a different way. We were trained very well in Washington, D.C. Brother Sharif was a good captain. He was a strong captain and one hell of a organizer. So he was traveling with the minister most of the time. But when he came back from the minister was training him. And he was bringing that training right out down to the line to our lieutenants and then down to the brotherhood. We had some of the strongest lieutenants, bar none, in the Nation of Islam. We had lieutenants like Brother Darrell, Brother Henry, Brother Ray, Brother Aaron, Brother Hassan, Brother Robert, and many other lieutenants that were strong. We had a strategy that we had set up in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is divided into 4 quadrants. And northwest, northeast, southwest, southeast. Northeast is where our mosque was, and northwest, people know that that's where you come in with the capital and all that. But what we did, because we were so strong in our training, as Brother Sharif brought this training back to us, we had one of the strongest lieutenant training class. So we would take lieutenants and their squad and put them in different sections of the city and tell them to send them a beachhead in that area of the city. So by doing that, we had our own, as you would call it, the outreach program. But we would go to these various different houses, door to door, selling the final call, talking to the people, and all of this. That was our outreach program. And being his first officer, I was his arm. And because he was getting everything from the minister, I carried out, his orders, with much respect. And we made it do what it do.
Great. And thank you for sharing that, and also just the strategy and the planning that went into it that laid the groundwork for what we're going to talk about that took place in Mayfair Mansions. And I'll go to our brother Sharif next. I would like to come to you because based upon the books that I've read, Brother Tim's book and also your book, we know that you all were approached by the property managers about coming in and providing security around the clock for the apartment complex. And from each of your writings, you speak about how before deciding to accept that proposal, you presented the proposal to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Can you share with us how you presented the proposal and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's response?
Yes, sir, most certainly will. Thank you again for allowing us to come on the show. As I want to say this, Brother Tim was one of the best and is one of the best lieutenants on planet Earth in the Nation of Islam. I want everybody to know that. And I want to say, when we went in, we was at our mosque. During the weekend, we would go into Mayfair Mansion and sell the Final Call newspaper. I was the type of captain, when I was in the city with Brother Tim will tell you, I led the men into the street. I didn't send. We worked together. And then we would go into Mayfair Mansion with the paper. And every time we went into any drug area in the city, the drug guys would leave. One Sunday, the manager came up to the mosque. And Brother Tim was there, and we was there, and he wanted to speak to me, and he spoke to us. And he said to me, what can I do to get you all permanently? He said, because every time you all come, the drug guys leave. But then when you all leave, they come back. So I told him that was on Sunday. I told him, I said, look, we'll be with you on Monday. We'll come to your office at 9 o'clock. We came to his office that Monday. We met. He told us he wanted us to come there permanently. And we told him we would. but then we had to go meet with the owner of the project. So we went, and I went down, and I went to that meeting by myself downtown Washington and met with the owner of the project. And then we went and we talked, and we told him what it was going to cost, because at that time we never charged. We always went out, volunteer with the Final Call newspaper, and then we come back. This time he wanted us there permanent. We had to make a charge. I went before the brothers. I came back, went before the brotherhood, and asked them, look, the owner wants to come permanently. What should we charge? To be honest with you, we didn't really know at that time exactly what to charge, because we had never charged before. So I said, what about $7,000 a week? Because we got the brotherhood, we're going to do it. Then a brother named Brother Anthony, we call him the Secret Squirrel. He yelled out and said, why not 10,000? I said, why not? And then we talked about it. Then the next Monday, I went down, met with the owner, told the owner, this is what we're going to charge to do this. He frowned a little bit and he said, that's a lot of money. And I asked him, I said, if one of those brothers loses his life, then what is the cost of one brother losing his life? He said, okay. Then he asked, he said, okay, what else do you need? I told him all the things. We needed command center, we needed vehicles, we needed radio. Everything we asked for, he gave it to us, because he wanted that problem solved. We got it. We went back. I told the brothers we was going to get started. But on my way back, I said, wow, I didn't get instructions. I didn't get no instructions from Honorable Louis Farrakhan. These are not my men. They're under my charge, but Honorable Louis Farrakhan, these are his men. Then I got on the phone and I called the minister. And I told the minister what was happening. Brother, I said, I got a check in my pocket right now for $10,000. The minister said, what? I said, yes, sir. He said, brother, I'm going to be in Philadelphia this coming Friday. Meet me there. And with a stern voice, I said, yes, sir. Now I said, wow, I didn't know if I did something wrong or what. I know I didn't get permission. So anyway, fast forward, Friday we went to Philadelphia with Tim. All of us went to Philly because the minister was speaking there. We went, I met with the minister. He told me these were his words. He said, brother, you go back and you tell all those brothers, those who seek to save their lives will lose it. Those who willing to give their life will be saved. But he said, you tell those brothers that you find out from them, are they willing to go in free? If one of them said no, don't go in. But if they're willing, they all agree to go in, I'll be pleased with you all, and y'all go. Fine. Got his blessing. We went back to D.C. I called all the brothers together. Tim was a witness. I called all the brothers. Unanimous. Let's go. In the name of Allah. Because during that time, the training that we had, Brother Tim was talking about, we feared no one but Allah. God. That's the only one we feared. That's the kind of training we had. We went back, went in, and then went in that Monday morning, and the rest is history. That's how we got into Mayfair Mansions.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And while we're talking about that meeting, I know Brother Tim was there. I'd like to ask you, Brother Tim, what is your recollection about just how, about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's words, and just what you remember about that meeting when Brother Sharif brought back the minister's words in his question?
Yes, sir. When Brother Sharif brought it to us, as he said, all of us had to agree. But every brother, without hesitation, said the affirmative. After Brother Sharif explained it to us, we said the affirmative. Yes, we'll go up in there. And we have to understand that the people in Mayfair Mansion, like every other area in D.C. with a drug infestation, whatever, is our community. We live in Washington, D.C. We did. That was our home. So as we started doing the patrols in Mayfair Mansion, we loved our people. So we loved what we did. And I have to commend so much, man, the brothers in Washington, D.C., like Brother Sharif said, we were the best. We were second to none except for Chicago itself. We're the best trained brothers in the Nation of Islam. And my heart goes out to them, those brothers that came in March, Mayfair Mansion in Washington, D.C. with a vigor and never complain. All praise is due to Allah. Love it, man.
Now, my next two questions, we're going to go first to Brother Jackie, and then we'll go to our brother Lieutenant Doucette. Well, Brother Jackie, from your perspective, why were the patrols, it's kind of a two-part question, why were the patrols by the Dopebusters a watershed moment for the Nation of Islam, and what were the impacts of the patrols on the actual city of D.C.?
Well, it's a great question. Why was it a watershed moment? It was what took place in Mayfair Mansions that brought the attention of the world back to the Nation of Islam. Remember now, the minister was in the process of rebuilding. Some of the press about the nation was still lingering out there. Our enemies never relented in terms of making sure that there was a negative image of the Nation of Islam. The reason it became a watershed moment was because when we went into Mayfair Mansions under the leadership of Brother Sharif, Brother Tim, and the others, we were confronted with people who were armed. When our brothers went in, and many people may remember, one of our brothers was approached by one of the dope brothers with a sort of shotgun. That man was disarmed. The media then portrayed that as a vigilante move. Here we came in as, in essence, saviors in that community. And the negative press, as a result of what the media portrayed, made it look as though we were the persons responsible for the mayhem. As a result of that video footage of the brother with the shotgun being disarmed literally went around the world. The image of the Nation of Islam began to go through a very significant transition at that time. Here people were seeing that these unarmed followers of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan risked their lives to save the lives, as Brother Tim said. That was our community. Many of our people lived in that area. So we were not invading any foreign territory. We were protecting our own community. The people saw that. The image, therefore, of the Nation of Islam began to go through a transition. Why? Because we went in, as Brother Tim and as Brother Sharif have said, the brothers were well trained, disciplined. The people saw that. The people saw the impact of the rebuilding of the Nation of Islam as a result of the news media trying to cast a negative light on us. The people saw through that. Now, who were some of these people? You had the politicians who all of a sudden began to look at what was taking place and said, hey, these men need to be commended for the sacrifices that they were making. Watershed moment. Image of the Nation of Islam began to go through a transition. You had the preachers who now began to look at what was taking place. You had the parents who became comforted as a result of the positive image that these men began to display. And you had those who had previously known of the work of the Nation of Islam began to come out and say, hey, the nation is back and they are setting an example for our young people. So it was a watershed moment. It was one of the significant factors that helped at that time in the rebuilding of the Nation of Islam. Because if you remember now, the nation had fallen. The minister was on the beaten path to rebuild the nation. And all of a sudden, what took place at Mayfair Mansions was shot literally around the world. you had Muslims in foreign nations who saw the Nation of Islam imbibe the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, go in and rescue our people who were under siege with no weapons, just with the power of the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister Farrakhan. And now they saw another image of the Nation of Islam as a result of what took place at Mayfair Mansions.
Definitely for that part. And so what we're going to do is we're coming up on our first break. And then after this break, we're going to come back and we're going to ask this another question. We're going to hear from our brother who's a former law enforcement officer, Lieutenant Duckett, if I'm pronouncing that right. We want to hear from him about this as well. So for those who are tuned in, we thank you all. Continue to invite each other people, continue to make comments in the comment section, and we'll be right back with this historic interview.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps us to highlight solutions for a brighter tomorrow. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
AsiaticMinds.com, the curriculum of study from the University of God's Mind. Education that enhances the quality of learning through a virtual school system. The science of mathematics, communication, and deductive reasoning. Our children are the future. Invest in your destiny. To enroll now, visit AsiaticMinds.com.
The hashtag Bank Black social media campaign made strides not only in revolutionizing how we bank, but also how we think. The movement inspired thousands of African Americans across the country to transfer or deposit millions of dollars into Black-owned banks. These are banks that will invest in urban communities, employ African Americans, support Black businesses, and inspire Black home ownership. This is a very proud moment for our culture as we are taking small, but significant, steps towards building Black power through Black wealth.
Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at National Network View. I am Anissa Muhammad with nnvnews.com.
And welcome back, brothers and sisters. Prior to the break, you heard our brother Jackie, talk about the significance and the impact of the Dopebusters when they went into the Mayfair Mansions housing development. Now we're back. We want to talk to our brother, Lieutenant Duckett. You know, in Brother Tim's book, Brother Lieutenant, Brother Tim writes about how valuable your support was to this effort. Can you talk about with us how you were able to support the Dopebusters from your position as a law enforcement agent, and how you were able to help protect them from some elements in the law enforcement departments who may have not wanted them. I'm gonna say no, not who may have not, who did not want them to clean up the Mayfair Mansions.
Okay, first let me lay a foundation, because I want your listening and viewing audience to understand what they went up against. Mayfair Mansions is in Ward 7 of the District of Columbia. The District of Columbia is not a state, it's not a county, it's a federal enclave created by the federal government. In Ward 7, there are 26,000 people that live below the poverty level. Let that number sink in. That number is significant because a lot of that 26,000 were in Paradise, Mayfair Mansion, Kenilworth. That's a quarter in Northeast Washington, D.C. Within that quarter, 50% of the young men and women are illiterate. They live below the poverty level. there's a lack of opportunity for employment in that particular community, especially at that time. It might have improved somewhat, but it's still a high level of unemployment. Drug proliferation between Kenilworth and Mayfair Mansion was out of control. Not only did you have local drug pushers, out of state drug pushers, but you had a level of police corruption second to none in that particular quarter. When I received a phone call from the chief of police, at first, go up there, because I was the president of the Black Police Association at that time. He asked, do me a favor, go up there and check on the brothers, make sure nothing happens to them. Well, I knew what that meant. Make sure nothing happens to them. It wasn't about retaliation or some type of armed aggression against the nation. He was worried about what? Police corruption. They had gone into the belly of the beast. I want that to sink in. The belly of the beast. You had corrupt cops up there. And he didn't want anything to happen to them, especially from a law enforcement standpoint. So he asked me to go up there. Well, at that time, I was well known in law enforcement circles. I was a commander of specialized training on farms, training on use of force, rookie, senior, veteran police officers, SWAT. I was in charge of all of that. Traffic stops, vehicle stops, self-defense. I was in charge. So I knew a lot of cops, and they knew me and knew what I stood for. So by me just showing up, it set a level of, if you're a corrupt cop, you better stop, because here's Lieutenant Duckett. I hadn't gotten the name Hamza at that particular time. Establishing a relationship with the brothers, brother Tim and brother William. He was known as William, then it wasn't Sharif. The minister at that particular time was Dr. Abdul Muhammad, and later became Sean Muhammad. Was easy. I was black before I was a cop. I want that to sink in. Police officers today, they identify themselves. I'm a law enforcement officer. No, you're a brother in America. You're black. And if you don't know that before you put that badge on, then you're stupid. So to identify with them, and especially the teachings, that was easy. Well, I'm laughing right now, and I hope that the audience will forgive me. Next thing, later on, they had me in the FOI class. Now, I couldn't get the marching straight. I'm left-handed, so I was extremely making wrong turns when they were saying left, right, left. I was going the wrong way. But anyway, my first night going up there, I remember sitting down and talking to Brother Sharif. We talked for two or 3 hours. It's 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. He got tired and I got tired, and we ended the conversation. The next day, he introduced me to Brother Timothy. And Brother Timothy has a personality that is warm, that is kind, that embraces you. And it was like I had known this brother for all my life. Like we had been friends all our life. And he was talking about the minister and the teaching. Then he started giving me books. Message to the Black Man. Our Savior Has Arrived. And I began to read. So we became close, not only on the common denominator, we were black and in America, but we became close because we shared certain spiritual beliefs. I watched him and his lovely wife together. And I said, man, that's a good brother. Now he's moving into Mayfair, and he's facing armed and dangerous drug pushers and cops that are dirty. I would be remiss as a man, remiss as a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ, not to be with them, not to support these brothers. And I was able to bring some brothers that was in the Black Police Association along with me.
It is, I'm so thankful for Brother Tim and Sister Beverly for reaching out to you and having you to be a part of this discussion, because you just added, from my perspective, you just added another aspect of this historic event that many people, haven't talked about. And I appreciate that response. And there's another question later down the line that we're going to talk more about law enforcement in the community. But I appreciate your response to that question. And now we're going to go to Brother Sharif, because, we often, in Brother Tim's book, and even in your book, you talk about many of the heroic actions that took place in the Mayfair Mansions. But once in your book, you mentioned something, and Brother's going to show your book on the screen again. you mentioned something about a meeting, about someone when anytime DC is mentioned about drugs, his name comes up, right? Rayful Edmunds. His name is mentioned, YouTube, whatever. In your book, you spoke about how he actually came to the Mayfair Mansion because this was one of the areas in his territory that he was running. And can you talk about that meeting that took place?
Yes, I certainly will. And I have to say, Brother Tim was right there with me the whole time. And we brought the brothers and we met with him. That brother, and like you said, the people need to do the research on him and do a little history search. Rayful Edmunds. He was one of the notorious drug dealers in Washington D.C. at that time. And then most of his men, most of his soldiers was in Mayfair Mansion in Paradise, working, selling their drugs. But when we came in as a team, we was always taught with our training. We sat down and talked to whoever's in charge of the opposition. Because remember I told you at the beginning, our training, we was taught, fear no one but God alone. So we called Brother Edward, we sent a message to him, telling him we wanted to meet with him. He came. He brought his troops with him. We had our armor. We was unarmed. He brought his men, they had armor. But we didn't feel nothing about that. We sat down at a table like men. And we talked to brother straight. And we told brother, look, we are here now. This is our territory. We came to save our people. And he looked at us kind of strange like, because he wasn't expecting us to talk like that. And we told him what God told us to do. And after we finished, the brother looked at us. He stood up, his men stood up. I stood up, the brother stood. And he said to us, he's leaving. He didn't give us not one controversial word. And he left as a brother, sure, because he knew he was looking at God's men. That's just the truth. And he left and went about his business. And from that day to this day, we never had an encounter again. And all his troops left with no problem. That's nothing but the truth. And that's because the Spirit of God is on the Nation of Islam, coming from the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. That's just real. And that's why when Brother Tim said it and you said it, the media came from all over the world, because that was another miracle that took place, because we followed the instruction of the Jesus that's in our midst, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. You can take it or let it alone. That's the actual facts. And our brother left, and you can see the history is written. He left with no problem.
Beautiful. Beautiful, man. And I'm so happy, as I said, starting off, that we have the opportunity in this little small form to get this historic, get the history of this, as you said, this miracle. And now I'm going to go to Brother Tim, because in your book, Brother Tim, you talked about something that's one of the things that stuck out to me. It was a vivid description about how after the brothers came in and began to start locking down and cleaning up the housing development, about how you vividly remember images of the children and the residents coming out there probably for the first time in a long time in a courtyard, not having to worry about seeing a drug transaction, ducking running from gunfire. Can you talk about just how that felt and what you saw and what maybe some of the residents may have even told you when they were able to come out into that area, not being afraid of losing their lives?
Yes, sir. You know, when we first went there that night, and we were getting threats, of course, from the drug dealers, and guns had been pulled on us by the police. You know, as I said in my book, they came up in the command post and arrested one of our brothers. And so we were in a dire situation. So that night and several other nights, we put 24-hour security around our command post and around the whole area. We locked it down. We patrolled the area with vehicles that we had, and we made sure that we had brothers posted up all the way around with radio, so we knew what was going on. So as we did this, everything was quiet. We had it locked down, So a day or so after that, I look up and I see children coming out to play along with their parents. I hardly even knew children even lived there. I didn't know because, the place was so corrupt. But as you saw the children and the parents, and they were coming up to us and hugging us, and some of them were crying, and we're so glad you're here. Y'all gonna stay here. Oh man, God sent you. I mean, they were saying everything. And that's something, because when you see you put your life on the line for your people, and you see the joy, and you see the pain also that they've suffered, all of that, and you look in the eye of the children, and they looking at you like, like God sent you here, and which He did. So we have to thank Almighty God Allah for the leader that we have, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and his Jesus in our midst, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Because without him, we wouldn't have been there or anywhere else. So I thank Allah, for what He has given us in those men. And I thank Him so much for what He has given to each and every one of us. The people, the children, they loved us then. I haven't been to D.C. In a little while because I'm here, but I'm quite sure they still love us,
Thank you. And this next question, I appreciate you for sharing that and just the impact, because that's you. It's almost like you see these military moves where they go in and they liberate a town or a country that's been occupied by a foreign force, right? And that's in a sense what you all did. So I appreciate what you are sharing, with the lieutenant shared, Brother Jackie and Brother Sharif. And I'll go to this next question, and I'll ask just about Brother Jackie. Brother Jackie, we opened up this clip, and it's talking about it with the national broadcast, was basically highlighting the problem that DC was experiencing, how DC had became just the murder capital of the country, the world, right? And one would think that the actions of the Dopebusters would not meet much resistance, right, by some members of the U.S. government and other agencies that say that they are committed to the betterment of society. Why do you think that the efforts of you all were met with such resistance?
Because of those people who were our enemies, who continued and continue to spread lies about the nation. But you have to keep in mind something, brother, and that's this. Even though there were those people who, for their reasons, chose to lie about us, there were on the other side people in the nation's capital. When Hamza talks about the poverty rate, when Hamza talks about the illiteracy rate, they knew that the nation was there to support them. So therefore, whatever was said that was negative, they could put it into its proper perspective. Now, what do we mean by that? You had people, you mentioned, for example, in government. There were people in government who really knew about the Nation of Islam. How? What took place in Washington, D.C., in specific what took place in Mayfair Mansions, had been, you would say, the ground had been fertilized over a long period of time by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister Louis Farrakhan. How? In 1959, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad spoke at the Uline Arena in Washington, D.C. He spoke before a crowd of 10,000 plus people. He was given a police escort there and back. That was the messenger laying a foundation. Then behind him, you have Muslim minister, the mosque in Washington, D.C., mosque number 4, under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, was one of the first mosques in the nation to be built from the ground up. People knew about our work. When the nation fell, Minister Farrakhan would come into Washington, D.C. We would have our meetings at the Phyllis Wheatley YMCA. He was in there every week, preaching hard. Okay, we didn't have a home at that time. The minister would come in and he would draw crowds. Then when you look at the work that the minister did in the church, we had regular meetings at Union Temple Baptist Church under the leadership then of Reverend Willie Wilson. The Union Temple became, in essence, the sister mosque to number 4. So the groundwork had been laid. You look at, for example, who was the mayor? Marion Barry. Marion Barry knew about the work of the Nation of Islam before he even became mayor. He started what was known as Pride Incorporated, where he had to interface with the Nation of Islam. And then a brother who I would never forget, he was the mayor's community liaison, Sam Jordan. Sam Jordan loved the Muslims. Okay, Sam was, in essence, lack of a better term, he was a street dude. And he identified with what we were doing in the streets. So the foundation had been laid. So those people who were our adversaries in the government, in the media, they then had to take a second look because of the admiration that the Nation of Islam had in Washington, D.C., from the time of the messenger in 1959 to the time of the minister coming in, to when Brother Sharif came in to serve as the minister. He had the brothers in and out of those communities with the Final Call newspaper. The ground had been fertilized. So therefore, when we were invited into Mayfair Mansions, you had a whole history behind us that justified our presence and the love the people had for us.
Wow. And thank you for that historical perspective, brother. Those are very interesting, and it's helping, as everybody's comment, is helping to put this in further historical perspective and see all of the factors that went into this and all of the work that was done in it as well. And I'll go to our next question, because this is important, and we're going to ask, I'll start off with our brother Lieutenant Duckett, and then we'll go to Brother Tim. You know, sociologists, criminologists, people who study crime, they talk about how they say that crime and violence, in order for it to be effectively addressed, there must be a healthy relationship between the community and law enforcement. So from your perspective, what allowed you kind of touched a little bit about it early, but I'm going to ask it again. You can add some more. And also maybe you can talk about what can be done today that would allow some type of relationship, a mutual relationship, to take place between the community and law enforcement to help address the violence that we're seeing in the crime and violence we're seeing today in our communities. Okay,
that's a two-part question. It's a good question. Number one, to your listening audience, your viewing audience, get your paper and pencil out. You got a cop getting ready to take you behind closed doors and expose some things in law enforcement. There are 4 basic types of cop out there on the street. One, there's a cop, and he's separate and distinct. Then there's a hard-nosed street cop. Then there's a badge-wear gun toter. And then there is, for the lack of a better term, a law enforcement officer. Society over the last 40 years has created this law enforcement officer. And you get what you create. You want a monster, you create a monster. The law enforcement officer doesn't give a damn about mercy, justice, fairness. He's only out there to enforce the law. He goes out on the street. You break the law, you're locked up. You resist, I'm going to fight you, I'm going to beat you, I'm going to call for backup. Something bad is going to happen. That's what you created. You said our law enforcement officers have to have a college degree. You don't need a college degree to go up in a dark alley and face an armed robber or a child molester. You don't need a college degree for that. You said he has to pass a polygraph test. All right? Tell me somebody who hasn't lied. You said he has to have a pristine background. Well, some say I'm the most decorated cop in the history of the Washington, D.C. Police Department. Well, I had a rough juvenile coming up. Guns, violence, you name it. But God blessed me, and people came into my life to help me get to where I am today. Now, that hard-nosed street cop, that's the guy you want. Y'all have eliminated him right out of your vocabulary. That's the cop that you knew, that walked the footbeat, that knew your mother, your father knew you, wouldn't lock you up, but hang his foot up in your hind parts if he caught you wrong and take you home to your parents. Law enforcement starts really with the family. And when the family breaks down and there's a disintegration of the family network, then you have total anarchy in that community, which leads to crime. Getting to your question on what develops the relationship between law enforcement and the community. First of all, you can't be an occupying army. You can't hate the people that you are policing. Many law enforcement officers throughout this country, whether they're in New York, Philly, Washington, D.C., they don't live in these communities. They didn't come from these communities. They're imported from Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Texas. And then they hire them and bring them in, give them some training, and I say go out there and police. Right now in Florida, they have a lack of police officers. So they're paying men and women $11,000 as a bonus to come down there and apply and be accepted as a police officer. They're going to pay you to police in Florida. So what? You paying somebody to police? Their heart is not into it. They don't know the community. They don't know the people. They don't know the culture. That's where the rub comes. You have to have a desire to want to serve people. When you have that desire to serve people, then there's a different nuance. There's a different flavor. There's a different approach to the very people that you are out there protecting. And I'm not talking about enforcing the law, protecting, because you're seeking justice, mercy, and equality for the people that you have taken an oath of office to do those things for. So there's a different approach. That child is being molested. You will not go home. You will not rest until you find the person that did it. A lady's rape, you will not go home until you find the person that did it, because you're committed to that. And then to the officers who actually really love the community, they will live in those communities. I lived 7 blocks from my district command. I could walk to work. Everybody knew my wife, my kids, and my mother, God rest her soul, may he be pleased with her. She died at 97. She would actually fix food and go 10 blocks from my house and sit down with gangbangers and sit them on the curb and feed them and talk to them about God. And I would pull up and they would say, no. I said, look, that's my mom. And they said, Lieutenant, and they call me Ducky. Oh, we're not going to hurt your mom. We love your mom. And that type of thing. When you had that level of commitment across the board, then you're going to have a different approach to the community and a different policing technique. Now, as I told you before, I was at the training division. Loved it. Monday through Friday, off on the weekends. The chief put me over to 6th District with Mayfair Mansions. They were in charge of that area over there, in charge of the drug unit. When he put me in charge of the drug unit, my first day there, 20 of the members of that unit got up and they wanted to transfer. I told them, hell no. Either they were going to clean their act up or they were going to jail. It was just that simple. Out of that unit, 2 people became the chief of police because guess what? I invited Minister Sean, Willie Muhammad, and Dr. Aleem to come and speak to my unit and to officers who wanted to come and listen. Every Monday in the 6th District, we had meetings of police officers, black and white. I didn't discriminate. I didn't say, well, if you're white, you couldn't come. And they would lecture them on discrimination, racism, and the teachings that y'all were given. And believe me, brothers, it works. We've had white officers stand up in the middle of the meeting and say, I'm a racist and I need help. And I couldn't believe it. I need help. And they went and got help. And I watched the attitude change, not only of those officers, but the officers assigned to that district with what the brothers were bringing from the Nation of Islam.
Brother, that was beautiful. Once again, I'm so grateful that you were part of the show to be able to share that, man. So we were almost coming up on our next break. So I want to give Brother Tim to get his response. What are your thoughts on that question, Brother Tim, as it relates to building this mutual relationship for the purposes of helping to get our communities together?
Yes, sir. You know, Brother Hamza and I became very close, very close. You know, I call him my brother from another mother, you know, but he would come to the site and he would walk the site with us. He would patrol with us all over, you know. He introduced me to other police officers like mine and things of that sort. You know, one day I got a call from the chief of police at the time, Fullwood, and he told me that I had an open door. He had an open door policy to me that I could come in and speak with his officers. So he called me in one morning when he was having a lineup, and he sit me down and he told me, I told this officer they could ask me any question that they want. The first question that they asked me was from one of his captains. And his captain asked me, he said, brother, why is it that you all are successful in the community where we are not successful? What happened? Why is that? I say the first thing that happened to me that I see the first thing that where you made your mistake at is that they put you in cars. And all the time that people see you is when you come and locking somebody up and bust them in the head or something like that. So now they don't see you as a friend. They see you as an enemy. Just like Brother Hamza said a little while ago, at one point, and I told the police officer in the lineup, I said, at one point they saw you as officer friendly. When you came, you got out of line, the police officer, brother gonna talk to you and tell you what's going on. He knew Miss Mamie next door. He knew Aunt Esther down the street. He knew everybody. He knew the truant officer. He knew everything that was going on because he walked the beat in your community. He was a part of your community. So I told them, that's why the people look at us the way they look at us, because we are in the community. We live here. We're patrolling. We walk here. We just didn't start doing this. We've been doing this ever since we've been on the scene. Since Honorable Louis Muhammad brought us here, we've been doing this. So as Brother Hamza said, that type of relationship with the police during that time, the officer friendly type, the people saw us as that type of people, as patrolling, because we took care and we were concerned about the safety, and we loved our people.
Thank you, my brother. And for those who are watching, we're coming up on our next break. And you saw in the comment section, we put the links and email addresses of how you can get the book by Brother Tim and Sister Beverly, and the book by Brother Abdul Sharif Muhammad as well. These are must-have to go into your library. Trust me, you need to get them. So we'll be right back, and you all stay tuned, for we'll have more of this dynamic and historical interview about the miracle at Mayfair Mansions.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App, NNV News.
AsiaticMinds.com, the curriculum of study from the University of God's Mind. Education that enhances the quality of learning through a virtual school system. The science of mathematics, communication, and deductive reasoning. Our children are the future. Invest in your destiny. To enroll now, visit AsiaticMinds.com.
worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button, or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Thank you for tuning in to NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, National Network View. This is Clifton Muhammad with NNVnews.com.
Muhammad's economic blueprint, the collective power of our dollars to build a future for ourselves. With 5 cents a day, 35 cents a week, $1.40 a month, and $18.20 a year multiplied by 16 million wage earners would give us $291 million in 1 year. Everyone can give 35 cents a week as an investment in our future. Donate now and see what our pennies, nickels, and dimes can accomplish. Visit economicblueprint.org.
We're back, and I have to get this question in. This is going to be to our brother Lieutenant Duckett. You know, brother, when they told me that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan bestowed upon you the holy name of Hamza, it was like, I don't know anybody that has anybody else that he's actually done that to, you know, like who not quote unquote a member of the Nation of Islam. But can you share with us how that came about and your thoughts when this man said, I'm going to bestow this name on you?
You see me smiling, right?
Yes, sir. I see that.
And I hear a lot of people give lip service. I love Minister Farrakhan. I'm different. I'll give my life for Minister Farrakhan. I want that to sink in. All of this military, police training, I'll give my life for him. First, I'll never forget the night. I had been up all night and I'd been reading. We were working on a Red Ball Express. A lady had gotten murdered and her kids had gotten murdered. And I've been up all night with my men, and I was reading Message to the Black Man and Our Savior Has Arrived. And I got a phone call. Would you attend a meeting at Howard University? The minister's going to speak, and they want you to be there in his presence and stuff. So I got there, and I don't know who requested. They asked me to say a few words. And I got up and I started speaking. And you got to forgive me if I get emotional. Duckett, that's my last name, was given to my grandfather. He was sold as a slave when he was 3 years old in New Orleans and brought to TB and Brandywine, Maryland, which is now Accokeek, Maryland. He wasn't a Duckett. He never knew his last name. He didn't have his date of birth. It was undocumented. And growing up as a child and going to granddaddy's farm and that type of stuff, I love that man. I love my whole family, 8 uncles and 4 aunts and that type of thing. But I knew Duckett wasn't our name. So I read the Message to the Black Man, Our Savior Has Arrived. And I said, man, the hell with this damn name. And I expressed that in my presentation that I gave that night. And I saw the minister looking at me. And he didn't say anything. He didn't. Next day, I got a phone call, and he gave me the holy name. And it sent ripples through Washington, D.C., because I'm a minister at the Bible Way Church of the Lord Jesus Christ. And the late Bishop Williams said, I guess you're going over to the Nation of Islam. And I said, I'm not going over there. I've always been a part of it because I've always believed in some of the things that they believed in. So he said, are you going to leave Bible? And I said, no, I'm going to take what I've learned and I'm learning from them and I'm going to bring it here. And he allowed that. In saying that, I'm indebted. Let me move on. I'm indebted to him.
We thank you for your sacrifice. We thank you for your support. And we thank you for your example, because it shows, you know, just because you learn and benefit from the teachings of the Most High Elijah Muhammad, that doesn't mean that people cannot continue to be a good Christian, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan talks about. So I thank you, brother, on the behalf of the believers here in our city. And I want to put this question in. I'm going to ask Brother Sharif, and then we're going to go to Brother Jackie. But Brother Sharif, you know, you as the former Supreme Captain, you brought the proposal to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Is there anything that you can share about how the minister felt about what the brothers did? You know, when they finally went in and began to start making the transformation. I know there's a picture we're going to try to pull back up where the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is looking like he's being taken on a tour in the Mayfair Mansions. Is there anything that you remember about how the minister felt?
Yes, sir. Thank you again. And I want to thank Brother Duckett for his heartwarming words again. Yes, Honorable Louis Farrakhan, I want to make this very clear. The whole time we was in Mayfair Mansion, that whole time, every week I was on the phone with Honorable Louis Farrakhan. He was concerned not only about the brothers' safety, and he was, but he was concerned about the community, because the Honorable Louis Farrakhan loved our people with a passion that only the Jesus could love like that. You saw the tears coming from my brother Duckett just now. That ain't fake. And notice when he said he'd give his life for Honorable Louis Farrakhan. But that in turn, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan will give his life and has put it on the line and still on the line for us as a people. And I want to segue into this right here, because a lot of people have forgotten about this. I know Brother Tim remember this clearly. When Honorable Louis Farrakhan stood up, remember what he said to before the whole world, what he said to the FOI particularly? He said, I give you the right to take my life if I deviate from the teaching of Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, you name anybody on the planet that has ever given that oath to the people to take your life if you deviate from this teaching. That's how much the Honorable Louis Farrakhan loved us as a people. And he used to, I was like being plugged up into a generator, because death was all around us. And to keep that charge of fear, no one but Allah, God, the minister would talk to us every day, and every week he wanted to know, how is his people doing out there at Mayfair now? To see the babies running around, like Brother Tim was talking about, to see the babies running around freely that had been locked up in their houses for all those years. To see the senior citizens come out that had never been out for years. The minister saw that. He kept up with that. He was heartwarming, concerned about his people. And that's why he told me, I'm coming to Mayfair. And he came, because he wanted to see with his own eyes. He wanted to talk to the people. He wanted to touch the children, the elderly. He wanted to see what it was all about personally. And he came to Mayfair, and the people came out. They loved our Louis Farrakhan. They thanked him. And the minister showed nothing but love, as he always does. And that's how I felt with him, Brother Tim, and all those soldiers out there. And the minister thanked every one of those soldiers that Brother Tim named and then unnamed them, that we've forgotten or gone on. The minister loved all of us as well as our people. That's why I can say boldly to the whole world, he is Jesus in our midst, and then some. May Allah.
And we thank you, brother, for your words and communicating the love that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has for our people, and the moving testimony that our brother Hamza gave as well, and is touching many people in the comment section. Now, I'll go to Brother Jackie on this question, because we kind of touched on it earlier about the resistance that took place. And as a result of this, there was a congressional hearing regarding the Dopebusters. So from your perspective, brother Jackie, what do you see as the significance of that congressional hearing regarding the Dopebusters?
I love that question. In Brother Tim's book, near the end of the book, he includes the congressional testimony given by 3 entities. 1, representatives from the ADL. 2, Brother Arif Muhammad, who is the General Attorney for the Nation of Islam. And 3, the man who was then the director of HUD, Henry Cisneros. Let me first start with the congressional testimony of the representatives of the ADL. They came into that august body, and before the world, they lied on us. They lied on the minister. They created a scenario that was totally foreign to all of the good work that we did in Mayfair Mansions. They emphasized the fact that Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam were anti-Semitic. They had a lengthy presentation in which they just repeated lie after lie after lie. Now, nothing about what you are hearing tonight from these assembled men is in any way aligned with the lies that the ADL told on us. Not one word was mentioned about the lives that had been changed and saved as a result of our impact on what was taking place in Washington, D.C. Now, let me say this and be very, very clear. Not only did they come in and lie, but based on the works of the ADL, they themselves were aligned with the drug trafficking in the nation. Can we prove that? There was a television program called Boardwalk Empire that HBO did years ago. And it talked about the works of the criminal elements in America. One of the featured characters in the series was a man by the name of Arnold Rothstein. He was Jewish, and he was one of the first drug kingpins in America. He was importing heroin from Europe and distributing it in America. Once you recognized who Mr. Rothstein was and saw the relationship between the Jewish elements in the ADL and the mafia, it would surprise you because they portray themselves as being a group of people who are concerned about the humanity of the Jewish people and so-called others. The ADL grew out of the Br'nai Brith. They came into existence in order to cover up the gangsterism taking place in America with the Jewish mafia. Anybody who said anything negative about the Jewish people were labeled anti-Semitic. After Mr. Rothstein was killed, there's another man who emerged. And those of you who are familiar with the movie The Godfather, there was a man by the name of Herman Roth who was featured in The Godfather. Herman Roth was the character who was created after Meyer Lansky, who became known as the brains of the mafia. Okay? In that setting in Congress, there was a cadre of representatives from the ADL. Among them was a lady by the name of Myra Bolin. They didn't include Myra Bolin's middle name. Myra Bolin's middle name was Myra Lansky Bolin. She was Mayor Lansky's granddaughter. She was in charge of research, quote unquote, for the ADL. She was in that room that day providing the information on the Nation of Islam that were lies. Now, what was the ADL's role? The ADL's role was to serve as a spy agency, the largest private spy agency in America. They sent spies in on Black politicians, example, Ron Dellums, Black leaders, example, Martin Luther King, Black organizations, SNCC, and the Nation of Islam. They gathered information on us, and the information they gathered on us, the lady sitting in that congressional hearing lying on us, they sold to the apartheid state of South Africa. These are people who were covering up all of the criminality of the ADL, or the role that the ADL played in covering up the criminality of the Jewish members of their community. One of the persons who was known to have been a double agent for both the ADL and the FBI was a guy that some of you may have heard of, known as Rabbi Meir Kahane. He was in charge of the Jewish Defense League. Meir Kahane formed an alliance with Joe Colombo of the Colombo crime family, and they sold their poison in New York City. So what is the point? The point is they had a responsibility to help clean up a problem that they helped create. And instead of copying to the role that they played in all of that, they slam us and make us, they create a narrative around us that we were the anti-Semites. Now, what was important about that? And I'll get off this point. What was important about that? Why did the FBI create a program known as COINTELPRO, in which the object of the program was to search for a Black Messiah? Now, that's a religious term that the FBI, quite frankly, is foreign to. Where'd they get that term, that language from? From the ADL. The ADL worked in collusion with the FBI to spy on us and to create a narrative around which Black men were killed. Among them was Fred Hampton from the Black Panthers. They came into our organizations and created an environment in which some of our brothers actually lost their lives. So from my perspective, they had a responsibility to help clean up a problem that they helped to create. So when we talk about the congressional hearings, that's one aspect of it, the lies that they told. Second, Brother Arif Muhammad came behind them, and Brother Arif Muhammad challenged the narrative that they publicly announced, showing how the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was not an anti-Semite, and the lies that they told about him in terms of his statements concerning Hitler, they twisted it. The lies that they told about him concerning calling Judaism a gutter religion, they twisted it. Arif came behind them, and for the record, before the world, he rectified it. Mr. Cisneros, who was the head of HUD at the time, was called on the carpet for allowing government monies to be used to support the work of cleaning up drugs in our community. And he delineated point by point the lies that they told. Now, he never identified them by name. He just identified the role that they played. And Cisneros basically say, these men are doing what the government could not do, refused to do. And now y'all gonna jump on my behind because I find that there's a need now to have the government help clean up a problem that they created. So when we talk about those congressional hearings, brother, those congressional hearings were extremely important. And for anyone who wants to know more about what was said, who said it, get Tim's book. He has all of the information concerning their testimony and the lengthy testimony that was made by the ADL and their lies, and the Nation of Islam's representative, Brother Arif, coming behind them, cleaning it up, and then Cisneros himself letting the people know that the record had to be straight. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, sir. You answered the question, and why that's important, as you said, because the stuff that we're covering tonight, as you said, it wasn't brought about in the hearings, right? And so this is why it's important now, and we appreciate the historical perspective and what you're bringing. So those who see this video will hear that. And also, he's going to bring up the copy of Brother Tim's book. And I read the book, and in the back, just as Brother Jackie said, you can read the transcript for yourself. So make sure you get this book. Our brother, who's the Final Call editor-in-chief, also has a book, and Brother Sharif has a book talking about this. So as we get ready to close in this last question, because we talked about what happened back then, and we still are having this violence and this crime in urban cities throughout America right now for a variety of reasons. So I want to ask this question in order. We'll go with Lieutenant Duckett, then we'll go to Brother Tim and Brother Sharif. And even if Brother Jackie, you want to close out at whether you can as well. So my question to you all, what can we do as a community to address this violence in this day and time right now, which we're in 2022? We'll start Brother Lieutenant Duckett, Brother Tim, Brother Sharif, and then Brother Jackie, and we'll close out.
First, the nation and those of conscience have to continue to do what we're doing. Living a life that's worthy to be pleasing in the sight of God. 2, carrying on the program. 3, reaching out and helping those who want to get out of the madness. There are going to be some of us within our community, Black community, that want to stay in the madness. There's nothing we can do to get them out of it. And that's their decision. But at the end of the day, everybody that I encountered, they're tired, especially if they're on the other side of the street committing crime, using drugs, selling drugs. They want to get out of the madness. For 15 years, I was a prison minister. And when I first got involved in the prison ministry, and I went to maximum security, and I got off the bus and I went in, and a lot of guys looked at me, hold it, how can you be a cop and you come down and preach to us? It's easy. It's real easy. Because I'm not a cop by birth. I'm a human being by birth that is in Black skin. So reaching out to humanity and wanting what's right and best for my brother, that's a natural thing. So we have to continue to do what we're doing. And above all, those who are within the Nation of Islam, you got a program second to none. My business, which has been in existence for 27 years, is structured on what I've learned from Minister Louis Muhammad and Leadership Institute, what I've learned in FOI classes, what I've learned from being around Brother Tim. Now, I will say one thing, Brother Tim, I love him like a brother. He's blessed. He has a companion, his wife, second to none. And y'all got to forgive me, and I'll say this and I'll close out. I've been married 3 times, and I've been looking for somebody like that for 3 times, and I haven't found it yet. So y'all got to pray for me with that. But in saying that, in closing, is the partnerships that we create, not only within the nation, outside of the nation, with our loved ones, with those that want to be involved, but with those that are striving for truth and justice. I was asked by a Jewish cop one day, how could I align myself with Minister Farrakhan? And I said, that's very easy, brother. That's very easy. He embraces what you reject. And he said, what's that? I said, the King of the Jews. And unless you do that, get out of my face, man. That's it.
Wow. Hey, I gotta use that one, brother. I like that defense. And now we're gonna go to Brother Tim, then Brother Sharif, and we'll close out with Brother Jackie.
Yes, sir. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm along with my brother Hamza. Yeah, she is second to none. I would like to thank her and the whole sisterhood also that supported us as we pushed hard in Mayfair Mansions. But most of all, I would like to thank the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for, if it wasn't for this, for those people who Allah brought to us, we would be nothing. So let's say this. The Nation of Islam has the truth. So we have to gird up our loins and we have to push harder than we've ever pushed before, to bring this thing down and to bring truth to our people. Look, I said this last night. The Caucasian back is up against the wall. He's in a position of damn if he do or damn if he don't. He is pushing miscegenation like he ain't never pushed before. One time he didn't want to mix his blood with us. Now, only thing he want to do is mix his blood with us. And he know that if he don't have a future, which he don't anyhow. But his woman is not birthing any children. So his race is dying. Now he has a group of people that don't want black people, but they cannot help for having black people if they want their ideals to live in the mind of someone that's going to take them into the future. But our job in the nation right now, more so than ever, is to push the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because them black babies that these Caucasians trying to produce for their ideal, when we put the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in their head and our people, look, man, this thing is over. It's all about the teaching. It's all about us as a people. We are the chosen people of God. We are those people that are the seed of Abraham, and we will come out of this with great substance, but we have to come out of this believing in the teacher and the leader that Allah gave us. So, look, I'm gonna say this, and we're gonna put a fork in it because I'm done. I love this nation. I love my minister. I love my wife. I appreciate her putting my story into these beautiful words so you all can read. She's been a gift to me, and we've been married for 41 years. I thank Allah for her. So with that, I would say all praise due to Allah. We thank you, Brother Willie, for this show. It's been a beautiful show, and we need to do more. Like I say, we tell our story, and by you putting it on the screen and putting it out there to the people, then you tell your story also. So thank you again for your hard work and what you have done. All praise is due to Allah.
All praise is due to Allah. We'll close out with our brother Abdul Sharif Muhammad, who is in the city of Atlanta, Georgia. So what are your thoughts about what can we do to begin to start combating this violence and crime that we're seeing in our community today?
Thank you very much. I would like to say 10-10-15. Honorable Louis Farrakhan worked for the world again. And he told all of us after his lecture, in this lecture, he said, go back to your city and open up 10,000 feelings and conflict resolution centers in all over this country. He told us to do it. He gave us those instructions then. And that's why you see the head on weighing now. 10,000 feelings. What we can do now is go back. Most of them, we have over 100 centers all over this country right now. 10,000 feelings. Now we have the 10,000 feelings because it's an arm that's easy for those that don't want to come and join the Nation of Islam because they're scared. But the 10,000 Feelers is easy because you don't have to be a Muslim to be a part of the 10,000 Feelers. We came back, the minister told us to get in cooperation with the preacher. I came back here and we opened up the 10,000 Feelers of the South. We could join forces with Reverend McDonald, Baptist preacher. And we cleaned up. We went into one of the worst areas in Atlanta, Georgia. It was called the Bluff. And that's where we set up our headquarters over there now. We duplicate what we did with the Dopebusters, what we did. We call it now 10,000 Feelers. Wilson said he wanted it all over the country. And we're moving in that direction. And what I'm saying to everybody that's listening right now, join the 10,000 Feelers wherever you are. Join on to the conflict resolution. We have them. We sat down this week dealing with conflicts. And I would like to say right now, if all the preachers with the religious homes right now, have these religious houses all over the country, on every corner, was just to open their doors once a week, starting off, right where they are, and say, come out of the street and set up the conflict resolution right in their basement. They're not using them anyway. They can do that now all over this country immediately. They ain't got to build nothing. All they got to do is open their doors and say, we open up a conflict resolution. Simple. And all these young brothers in the streets, kill it. Brother Tim can tell you right now. Brother Jackie can tell you right now. Dr. Elijah Mama said in his book that the blood is going to be up to the horse's bridle, and it's happening right now. So we want to try to stop it. We better follow the teaching and the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. 10,000 Feelers all over this country. And he told us, go out in the community and stand between the guns and our brothers. That's what he told us to do. And that's what we're doing in Atlanta. That's what we're doing in parts of the city. We ain't talking about it because there's too much positives coming to the nation. That's all right. We're going to continue to do the work. So that's what we can do right now. I say it again to all the preachers and teachers that's listening. Open up your churches. Open up your houses of worship right now and start the conflict resolution and get our young brothers out the street. Bring them in. Set them down. Let's talk to them. Let's settle up this fight. Remember now, we don't have no manufacturing. Blacks don't own no manufacturing. How are these guns getting into our community? Question for you to go do some homework on. But I'm saying, what we could do right now is listen to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and listen to his help. And let's go out into the streets where our people at. Since you're afraid to go out there, then back us. We're not afraid. We'll go out and help our people. The United States government knows this. They put billions of dollars behind programs that don't work. Why don't you back the Nation of Islam and the 10,000 Feelers and let us go and help our own people? We're willing to do it. Why not support us? Because if you don't, you see little Willie and little Bo Peep, they coming all in your neighborhood now. They don't care because they don't feel like they got nothing to live for. So the Nation of Islam is your lifeline, whether you believe it or not. From God. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan told all of us into the world, he's backed by the most two powerful beings on the planet. And you have not been able to dispute that. So, excuse my passion. 10,000 Feelers, conflict resolution centers, that's what we can do right now. And I'm saying, and all like minds, let's come together now. And I'm saying what you saw in D.C., that was just a lightweight thing that's done, what was done. But the 10,000 Feelers, by the help of Allah, backed by the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, you watch what you see, what we're getting ready to do and doing. So Lieutenant Duckett, I'm calling on you, brother. Brother Tim, come on home. Brother Jackie, keep on writing. And telling the truth about the Nation of Islam. Coming for you. We're going after those young brothers in the street. And remember this, and I'm going to leave you with these words. What the scripture said. Referring to the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, that Jesus that's in our midst right now. He came among his own, and they received him not. Come, go do your homework. May Allah bless you with the light of understanding. And thank you, Brother Willie, for allowing us to come and have this platform. We love you.
You too, my brother. Salam. And I thank you for that idea you just dropped about those churches, man. We're gonna, inshallah, I'll call you. We're gonna move out on that here locally as well. So our brother Jackie had fallen off from the webcast, but he's back. And Brother Jackie, the closing question is if you could do briefly in regards to what do you think are some things that we can do to begin to combat this violence that we're still facing in our communities in various urban areas?
I will say and repeat what I just heard Brother Student Minister Sharif say. He said it. Okay. I will say what Brother Hamza said and the passion with which he said it. There's a role for us in the church, joining forces with our brothers like Hamza in the church. We are not two separate communities. I thank Brother Timothy for his leadership. And I thank you, Brother Willie, for what you are doing. And the only thing I have to say at this point is happy, happy Ramadan.
Thank you. Ramadan Mubarak as well. So for those who have tuned in, we thank you all for tuning in. Leave your comments in the comment section so we can see your feedback, because that helps us to begin to schedule additional programming. We also have something in the works. We want to announce it now of another special segment that we intend on doing, inshallah, as well. But if you want to see the rebroadcast of this, you can go to NNV. You can go to Miles number 46 AV on YouTube, on Facebook to see it. But also, inshallah, on this coming Sunday, we're going to rebroadcast this show as well, because it is so important. Because as the African proverb says, until the lion begins to have his own historians, the hunt would always be written to glorify the hunter, right? So if you want to get the books, you're going to see we have Brother Sharif's book. You can get the book. We have it. Let me tell you, I read this book during the COVID. It's a great book that I think all of those who are interested in leadership should get. It's a very open, very transparent book. And this was the first one. He has the second one. We don't have the images of that, but if you go on his website, we have it in the comment section. You can get it. And you go to him, Brother Musa. You see he's holding it up. It's another very good book. Down is not out. So you can go to his website and you can get a copy of that book as well. And then in addition to that, you heard us mention Brother Tim's book, right? He's going to pull it up right now. But these two books come together as a duo. They're both connected, right? So you have to get both of them. Now, we talked about Brother Tim's book, The Mayfair Mansion. I read that book in a day or two. His story, what we learned about, and there's some valuable information about the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in that book that I didn't know about as well. But also, you see, as the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, that when the black man rises in the South, it will be on. But also, we know that includes the black woman. Sister Beverly's grandmother, this sister who Dr. Matilda Evans, if I have that right, you have to read this lady's story. A movie needs to be written about this woman and what she did, how she first physician, right, in South Carolina. She talked about us having our own separate land in that time. So get both of those books. So make sure that you get them.